Monday, October 9th, and this is Geeknights. Tonight, being Science and Technology Night, we're going to talk about CODECS for audio, video, and images. If you're one of our new listeners from CODECS, remember that Tuesdays are gaming days, Wednesdays are anime, and Thursdays are awesome. The actual coverage of the convention will, of course, be on Wednesday nights.
Let's do this.
Well, we're back from a weekend at CODECS.
Oi.
It was a good time, I gotta say. Seeing the video game pianist and entertainment system live was pretty awesome.
Yeah, they were indeed pretty awesome, and the only other place you can really see the video game pianist is like Video Games Live, which I think is going to be in Brazil next. So
yeah,
it was a rare opportunity to, see him play for a relatively low price, close up in the U.S.
Plus, we got to hang out with him afterward, and we went out to dinner, and he's a really cool guy.
Yeah, he's pretty cool. He's way too modest, man. Modesty is all noble and all, but he's really got to be more a little confident and at it.
Yeah, people like us think we're a lot more awesome than we are. This kid doesn't realize just how awesome he is.
He's pretty much more awesome than everybody. But he thinks he's like, whatever.
Plus, the best part is, we're all hanging around. We're all in our mid-20s, if not greater, at this table. And then someone asks him, how old are you? He's like, 19.
We're all like,
our lives are wasted.
And then he's like, you're not so old. You're not so old. We're like, oh, yeah, okay, Mr. Modest saying we're not so old. Don't be modest for us. We're old.
Yeah, but of course, to all of our new listeners who we may have picked up at CODECS, we will be covering CODECS on Wednesday because that is Anime Manga Comics Day.
Yep, that's when we're going to cover it.
Though, at first, I would like to explain to any new listeners, partly because we've been way overusing this joke, but a while ago we had this thing of the day, which was these guys with a Brooklyn accent kind of watching Pokemon and yelling at it.
And at some point during the video, you think the guy says, you can't lift 10 Pokemon.
Like, you can't hold 10 Pokemon.
So now whenever we begin a sentence with you can't, it just turns into you can't 10 something something.
Yeah, we were doing this panel on, your anime sucks or anime you like sucks. And every few minutes we're just like, you can't make fun of 10 anime.
You can't verb 10 nouns.
It's a bad thing. So I thought I'd explain it to all of you who were a little confused by that.
Yeah. Maybe I'll look up what day that thing of the day was. But when you just go search your Pokemon on frontrowcrew.com and you'll find it. And then you'll get the inside joke of you can't verb 10 nouns.
So anyway, there's really only one news today. So Scott has a little news to get out of the way.
Yeah, okay. The little news is that there was some 100% carrot juice. And I don't remember. I don't have the article in front of me right now. I read it a few minutes ago. And some people in Toronto, 2 people, were paralyzed because there was botulism in the carrot juice. Now, the interesting part is that it was organic. It was organic carrot juice.
So it didn't go through the process that would have prevented botulism from happening.
Exactly. A lot of people, they've done a really good job of marketing all these organic, mostly fruits and vegetables, but also dairy and meat products, as organic. And I guess there's some organic grains, but those really don't have as much of a problem, I don't think. I don't know. I'm not an expert. This is secondhand knowledge here, But anyway, the thing is, when someone says organic, that means they do less science to it. And if you're a hippie, that kind of thing sounds great. You'd be like, oh, it's more healthy. It doesn't have pesticides or hormones or all these sorts of evil things that other hippies come up with that sound really bad because they're chemicals and they're unnatural.
Remember, at the same time, it's not all bad. Some organic food is really good. If you get unpasteurized orange juice, it's the bomb.
Yeah, it's the bomb for about 2 days before it turns into poison.
Yeah.
Picking an apple off the tree is always going to taste better, but that's not because it's organically grown. That's because you are very close to the place it is growing. The reason fruits and vegetables in places like the Northeast where we live, the Northeast U.S., suck is because those things are taken off the tree, frozen or something, shipped a very long distance, and then eaten. If you go to Florida to get oranges, they're all awesome because they're freaking traveled, they're 1 day ago they were picked off the tree.
Yep, there's some hippies here who make their own locally grown salsa, and it's really freaking good.
Yeah, because it was grown right here, not because it's organic. And organic stuff isn't any healthier. All that shit about Franken food where they genetically engineer it to be bigger or seedless or anything like that, that's all a bunch of hokey friggin'. any fruit or vegetable is awesome. You know, if you eat a giant strawberry or a square watermelon, it's not going to hurt you. It's not any different from a regular watermelon. But the thing is...
what about those poison watermelons in Iraq?
That's true. You don't want to poison Iraqi watermelon. However, if something says organic on it, that means that it went through less science. And our friend... it went through less science. And our friend who tests food, who was on the show a long time ago for a living... He says that he would not choose to eat organic foods because while many of them probably won't hurt you, the quantity of bacteria and other things like that are in them are higher than in the foods that went through more scientific processes.
Now remember, he's talking more about processed food. I mean, like if you take fruit and make a juice out of it organically. I mean, organic fruits and vegetables aren't really any different and just have less pesticide on them usually. And
but, you know, and they also more expensive. Even if, you know, the regular unprocessed fruits and vegetables, you know, are organic, and that doesn't necessarily mean they're going to be poison or anything like that spinach was, they're too expensive.
Yeah, whatever. You can rant about organic foods as much as you want, and...
Yeah, those people with their organic foods, they bother me.
Well, yeah, you rant about it all the time, and it's annoying.
There are worse, more annoying things to rant about.
Yeah, which you often do, but...
What do you want from me?
So what's your big news? The one that you wanted to have only one news for today?
Oh, the one... Why do I have both news? It's your news. My news is the organic carrot juice.
All right, fine. Then my news is that Google bought YouTube for $1.65 billion in stock. The biggest news on the internet in a long time.
Holy crap. It's insane. Google, the biggest people on the internet, bought the biggest video on the internet.
For a lot of freaking money, right after a whole bunch of analysts basically said that YouTube is worthless.
I mean, holy shit, what were those guys at YouTube? They're probably all nervous every single day of their lives. Like, God damn it, we made this big monster. We're going to be ruined. What do we do? Today they probably freaking that sigh of relief just wave. I felt it over here. It was so big. No, but I mean, think about it. Most of what we do on the internet nowadays is looking at videos and shit. All now for both places that we get it from are combined into one.
I mean, really, the only places that had good videos on the internet were YouTube and Google Video.
And now they're gonna be one and the same, presumably, eventually, maybe. I mean, they said YouTube will retain its distinct brand identity, and they're keeping, you know, the employees and everything else, but...
If anything, I'll bet Google Video will just index everything on YouTube and vice versa.
That would be cool if they were like both the same site, but you could choose the interface. I really hope this is just one Flash application for displaying the video that's on both sites, because I really like the Google Video one a lot more than the YouTube one.
Yeah.
No, but apparently these accompanying news is all the deals that they had with legitimate entertainment companies.
Yeah, I mean, Google had had deals with Sony BMG Music and Warner Music over music videos, where some sort of profit-sharing royalties thing.
Yeah, they did that today, and before that, YouTube made a deal with Warner in September, and YouTube also made a deal with Sony and Universal today and whatever. There's just deals going around with all the media companies. But the big one is the one with CBS, where basically now CBS is going to give content to YouTube. That's okay. And if people post something on YouTube, CBS is going to look at it. And if it was something that was recorded off of CBS, CBS is going to basically either get the final say, as in yes, they can go on YouTube, or no, it can't. And if they say yes, then CBS is going to get a cut of the advertising money from that page. So if CBS lets something go online from its network, then they're going to get money whenever people look at it.
Now, on one hand, it's a smart move by Google because this puts the onus of copyright enforcement on someone else. If CBS lets something go through, Google can't be blamed because they let CBS decide if it goes through or not.
On the other hand, we got CBS looking at all our stuff.
Yeah, we'll have to see I hope the EULAs or the various licenses around all this stuff don't change in terms of, like, if you put a video on YouTube, then rights get transferred or...
Yeah, this could be a real problem if people start feeling like, you know, I mean, people use YouTube because it's a lot like the Flickr of video, you know? It's people putting their stuff up for other people to see. If the combination of Google Video, YouTube, and all these media companies turns it into more of a corporate kind of video thing and not, the people's video thing. You're going to see a lot of competitors show up and possibly kick its ass. And it's on the internet, we've seen, you might think, oh, no one could beat such a monster. It's so big. There's no way to win. It's happened on the internet a lot of freaking times. I mean, the Friendster, dead. MySpace is the win.
Orkut, dead.
Yeah, MySpace is the win. Lots of things go down. I mean, Alta Vista and Yahoo, down. Google up. It happens every day.
And it's not always like the best thing wins, because no offense to you people out there, but MySpace is the bottom of the internet.
It's shite.
You said shite purely because I said shite all weekend.
That's right.
I don't know why. For some reason, all weekend, I just said shite instead of shit.
That's what you do.
I guess it just sounded funnier. I don't know.
Yeah, but this is going to mean big news for the future of awesome internet geekeries.
Yeah.
One company for your internet video needs.
One ring to rule them all, and in the darkness of the Style Project bind them.
Oh, no. Oh, God. Yeah. Hopefully this will bring more good than bad, but I feel an even dose of both coming this way.
If anything, I look at it this way. Google is smart. The people who make decisions at Google know what they're doing.
Yeah, they're way smarter than us.
If Google bought YouTube, Google's got something planned. They know exactly what they're up against, all the problems.
They've obviously done the math on some way to combine AdSense and YouTube and Google Video to actually make some monies.
This will probably put the nail in the coffin of, because I know Microsoft kind of wanted to have a video thing and Yahoo wanted to have a video thing. Those things have no chance now.
Yeah, I think they're really how Google's doing it. If you look at a lot of the other newses about Google, it's like they're fighting for a new standard of power supplies that are just 12 volts. They're fighting to have these like mainframe server farms in a box things that they can put all over the country. These are the kind of things they're going for. They're trying to find a way to make it cheaper to do things that require insane amounts of processing and insane amounts of bandwidth all over the world. And by cutting those costs, they're able to do things like YouTube for less money than people like YouTube can do it for in the old-fashioned way of having 1 billion fiber optic cables in a giant server farm somewhere.
And don't forget, Google has all that dark fiber.
Yeah, Google has. Yeah, that's another thing they're doing, the dark fiber and their own Wi-Fi. They're cutting the costs on the back end to make insane internet applications more feasible when supported merely by Google AdSense ads.
Google is like a spider now, and they're going out in every direction and trying to take over like everything. But for some reason, unlike when Microsoft and AOL have always tried to do things like that in the past, they're really not being evil, as far as anyone can tell, and everyone seems to be backing them. If Microsoft did the same thing, if Microsoft bought YouTube, the news would have been, Microsoft ruins YouTube.
That wouldn't have been actually so bad if you think about it, because they could have combined it if they would have handled it right. If they would have combined it with the Zune and the Xbox 360, then it would have been hot. I might even go for that.
Yeah, if I could subscribe.
No, better yet, you have the Zune, right, which is this portable thing, and it has Wi-Fi, and you can watch YouTube on it anywhere. That would have been so hot. Instead of having to have a whole laptop. Like, imagine if the iPod with video could watch YouTube. That would be wicked.
Not even that. Say on my Xbox, I could subscribe to, like, the YouTube Top 100 channel.
And watch them in HD?
And just watch. Well, HD wouldn't really matter with YouTube.
But I'm saying they could make it hotter for the Xbox 360 folk because they know that they're not going to be able to pirate the content through their Xbox.
Granted, we can't speculate about that because that didn't happen.
Oh.
We know what happened, and it's probably better.
Yeah.
But, it is interesting that any other big company, really geeks and people in the know generally don't trust them at all. But
a lot of people keep saying they don't trust Google. But
no, they don't.
They haven't done anything yet.
The people who don't trust Google are old people and a very, very vocal minority.
Yeah. They did do that China stuff, though.
Yeah, but look at what Yahoo did in China. Google's policy is we're not going to harm the Chinese citizens. It's not their fault. So what we're going to do is censor what they want, but we'll put a big thing saying we censored something because of your government.
Mm-hmm.
Now look at Yahoo. They turned the dude in, and he got arrested.
Yeah.
Google is probably doing the best. The only choices here are to either screw the Chinese people and hope that they get mad at their government, or do whatever you can to help the Chinese people out.
Of course, you can't yell at Yahoo too much. They do provide Flickr and Delicious, which I use freaking every damn day.
Yeah.
all the time.
I mean, there was a time when Yahoo was my preferred search engine,
Yeah, in 1996,
give or take.
1998,
After
97, or 98.
AltaVista.digital started giving me bad results and every other search engine just sucked.
Yeah, remember back in the day when search engines would link you to dead sites that were 404s? Those are crazy times.
Or when search engines all gave you completely different results and didn't index the same pages.
Yeah. You know what? At the very least, I think now searching on YouTube, just searching YouTube for videos will get better because it'll be a Google search and not a YouTube search, whatever that works.
Plus, notice how Google paid in stock and not in cash. So say this is a bad move and Google stock tanks. The more Google stock goes down, the less they paid for YouTube.
Yeah, but it says right here, YouTube will retain its backers will retain a shed load of Google shares, which no doubt will be converted into Reddies as soon as possible. And there is no doubt they're selling all those shares right now. As soon as the market opens tomorrow, Google stock price is going to go down a bit and get cheap from those YouTube guys selling all those shares for cash and going to buy new Ferraris. And then you see the Google stock will be cheap, and because they bought YouTube, a whole bunch of stock guys are going to buy it, and it'll go back up.
Yeah. Things of the day.
Which day? We've been gone for 3 days. I have no idea what the hell happened in this world.
Yeah, you know what? It doesn't matter because something happened back at RIT. Now, the college we went to, RIT, the Rochester Institute of Technology, decided while we were there to build a monstrosity. Now, a lot of campuses have a monstrosity. You know, a big, ugly statue of something. RIT decided to get a statue of a knight. But the statue of the knight...
I mean, a statue of a knight, if you tell me that, I'm like, yes, that's awesome. A knight. A knigget.
It's a knight made out of metal scrap garbage, basically. It's a pile of scrap metal.
It's a rust knigget. It got rust hurricaned.
Now, the thing is, it doesn't look that bad. I mean, a lot of people complained about it when it went in, but that was mostly because it was RIT, and the students there, if anything changes, for the better or for the worse, people will bitch about it.
Well, I mean, I could kind of understand the fact that it was a lot of money. It was like $14 million.
Yeah, but it
was it? It was a lot of money. I don't know if it was 14
Yeah,
million.
it was millions.
Oh, maybe it was the GCIS that was 14 million.
No, the Sentinel was millions and millions.
It was a lot of freaking money for this giant statue.
And the Golisano building cost a lot more than 14 million.
Well, I think that's what Golisano gave. I don't remember exactly. I'm just remembering 14
the
million
point
is
is,
some number.
Students complained, like, first they were like, oh, they waste our money on this, and then RIT was like, actually, that money was all donated by people specifically to build that, and we didn't take any of your money at all.
Yep.
And then people are like, well, it's ugly. And it's not that ugly.
I mean, it's pretty bad. I mean, the other
Here's the thing, it's not
existing statues around RIT are better, like the sundial and the infinity, which are wicked cool.
See, I think it actually fits into the campus pretty well, and it's hip.
Yeah, ugly, like all the buildings made of brick. It's made of rust.
See, now, I don't think the buildings are ugly either. I think RIT's campus looks really good, especially in the summer.
It does. It looks okay, despite if you like bricks, and I kind of like bricks. But
see, the thing is just that people at RIT complain no matter what. And the only complaint I have with the Sentinel is that what they should have built is a 90-foot tiger.
Nah, there's already a tiger, which is the best damn tiger.
Only because its balls get spray painted gold every year.
Awesome. No, they should have built a freaking. If they built an actual knight, it would have been much.
But that wouldn't have fit in at all with RIT.
Mm.
The thing is, the Sentinel fits in. It looks pretty good.
It kind of fits in a little bit.
Now, the thing is, the students, regardless of how nice the Sentinel actually is, bitched about it and bitched about it. And while we were at RIT, we conspired several times to prank it in some way.
Well, of course, that's what everyone was thinking all the time.
Yeah, we were like, should we TP it? Nah. Should we run a pirate flag up on it? Nah. Should we thermite it? Nah. And we just never got around to pranking it because we were seniors and then we all left, so we didn't care anymore.
Yeah, the Sentinel went from a thing everyone complained about to something everyone walked by on their way to class to a joke.
Yeah, so finally, now that we're gone, some people actually pranked the Sentinel.
Hooray.
Now, they did it in a classically geeky way. They took a bunch of throwies, which take an LED and a battery, tape them together, and now you've got a little light.
That's a throwy.
And you put the tape, like double-sided tape on it, and you throw it somewhere, and now you got this light stuck to something.
Yep.
So
Well, you use the tape that you use to attach the LED to the battery is also the tape that makes it stick.
Well, yeah, you just wrap it in double-sided tape.
Yep.
And people, they covered the Sentinel in this thing, and then they ran a pirate flag up it.
Woohoo!
And then they put pictures on to internet.
Woohoo!
Of course, the news is that RIT took all of them down almost immediately. Oh well, the guy who did it is awesome, and that's my thing of the day.
Yeah. RIT just doesn't understand. They should really capitalize on that sort of thing. I mean, if RIT left it up and even like praised the students who did it, you know, that would send a message to the whole world like, hey, come to RIT. It's an awesome place to go.
You know what sends the message to the world, hey, come to RIT? The fact that they have 2 OC3s connected to the internet.
Ah, that's true.
That's the only reason I went to RIT.
That was one of the, I got him at this, one of the major
And
reasons.
I didn't even know. I thought they had a T3, and I was impressed by that. I get there, they're like, we don't have a T3. And before I could say, what? Fuckers lied to me. They said, we have 2 OC3s and a T3.
I didn't even know what an OC3 was before I went to RI3 and RIT, and that's why I knew that's where I wanted to go.
Yeah, so what do you got?
So this dude, this is kind of technology right here. You know how, if it's opened up a hard drive, first of all, in any hard drive, there's a wicked powerful motor that's small but spins disks really fast. There's also a bunch of disks, usually 3, and they're nice, heavy, metal, thick, magnetic disks. They're just basically like CDs, only solid metal and fat and magnetic. And this guy takes a whole bunch of floppy drive platters, which are the disks in the floppy drives, puts them on one motor, spins them up real fast, and lets them go. And then, if you think about the physics, you'll know what happens to them. And then you watch, and you go, oh yeah, that's what would totally happen if you did that. And then he throws in a curveball at the end of the video, and it's awesome.
The video's funny and short and worth watching.
Very worth watching.
What else can I say?
Very short. That's all there is to it.
So, on to the main bit, which is kind of a cop-out.
It's not really a cop-out.
Well, today's is a cop-out, because today's the overview of what we're going to do.
Yeah. So this week and the following 3 weeks, we're going to talk about something a lot of people don't understand and have problems with, and that is dealing with many different sorts of file formats, mostly video ones, but also audio and image ones, specifically the compressed formats that involve words like codec and container and such.
Now, a lot of people have trouble with this, and us included sometimes.
Yeah.
And the thing is, normally when it comes to computer stuff, we always make fun of people like, you don't know about blah, 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 you must be stupid. But when it comes to codecs, it changes so fast and so often, and it's not like there's a central repository or a website that's like, here's a list of all the codecs out there and all the containers and how to use them.
And it's not like it's very easy to tell, unless you're using Linux, exactly which codec and which format a specific file is using and whether you have the right thing or not.
Yeah, plus a lot of people will download a player for a codec, not knowing that they could just get the codec, or some codecs cost money. Sometimes you can play a file, but you can't make a file.
Sometimes there's different places to get the codec from. Like, you can get the official real player, or you can get some other thing that also does it, and you always get the bad ones, and you get stuff that doesn't work with each other, so then you end up being able to play certain files and not others in different players.
Yeah, so a lot of programs don't, like, you have to install codecs in them for them to work.
Yeah, it's a crazy mixed up world, but hopefully we will tell you the underworkings and also how you can get stuff to work.
Yeah, in the very least, we'll learn a lot as we do a bunch of research for all this.
All right, well, the first thing I think we have to explain is what is the point of all these formats?
Yeah.
Why do they exist?
I mean, the word is codec. Now, codec is kind of like modem. Modem is the same kind of word. Modem is not a word so much as modulator, demodulator. And then they shorten that to modem because you don't want to say, hey, I bought a new 36K modulator, demodulator today.
Yep, codec means compressor, decompressor, or coder, decoder, or compression, decompression, or encoding, decoding, or
now,
whatever.
This is digital compression, not analog compression. We use analog compression and digital compression to make Geeknights. Digital compression is like making an MP3.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, that's exactly what it is.
You see, there are 2 steps in this process, really. Is what we're talking about is images, audio, and video. Those are all analog things. They involve waves/particles of light and waves of sound. And you have to convert those in order to use them in a computing environment into a zeros and ones. So you have an electrical signal that varies in voltage wildly, and you have to turn that into an electrical signal that is either 0 or 5 volts.
Now, take the images.
Without losing information.
Now, take images just because this is the easiest one to explain because this is the simplest.
Mm-hmm.
So what do? The first early one simply would say, I've got X pixels. I'll figure out which color each pixel would be to look as close to that thing as I can, and then I'll save a file that's just a line of numbers that tell what every pixel's color has to be.
So, like, let's say you have an image file on your computer, and there are 2 possible colors, black and white. So the first pixel is the first bit. It's either a 0 or a 1. So it's just a bunch of zeros and ones, and you go through 1 pixel at a time. It goes 0, black, 1, white, 0, black, 1, white. And that's how it's done. Convert analog to digital. The second thing you need to do is realize that, hey, if you get a really big picture, that's going to be a really big file.
Thus, we have compression, where they use tricks and algorithms and various things, which we'll talk about in much more detail, to compress it, to make it smaller. So instead of having to say you have, this picture, and you can figure out, looking at it mathematically, that, hey, the whole second half of this thing is just ones.
It'd be easier to say, yeah, put 100 ones here instead of actually having 100 ones, because the number 100 takes up less memory than 100 actual ones do. That's just a very simple example of the kind of things that you do to compress digital files. This gets even worse if you try to do video, because now you don't have just one picture. You've got a jillion pictures, like 30 pictures a second, and you've got an audio track also.
Yep, and maybe a subtitle track.
Yeah, and God knows what else you've got in there.
You might have like 5.1 surround sound mixed in with all this.
Yeah, you might want to have like 3 different languages and 5 different subtitle tracks. You might have alternate angles on the video file. When you get this kind of stuff, you need to take up a whole DVD with it, and DVD is like 4.3 gigs. It's crazy.
Plus, at this point, there's another step up. I mean, we talk about codecs, but a lot of people get confused between codecs and what would actually be called containers.
Yes.
Very briefly, the easiest way to explain this is with AVI. Because it used to be that AVI was a container and a file format because it was just raw, basically pictures in a row.
Well, it kind of is, sort of.
Well, yeah, but I mean, AVI, you could tell someone, oh, this is an AVI file, and all AVI files were the same.
AVI file is basically the default video file. It is a completely uncompressed, normal video file. We're not talking about the container, but the codec AVI is nothing. It's just a bunch of bitmaps.
But the thing is, now, I mean, a lot of DivXs are .avi, but the codec was DivX, so how come it's still an AVI? How come my old player can't play these new AVI files? They have the same extension. Well, it turns out that the container can hold all different kinds of video streams in it.
Yeah, you don't have to put an AVI codec, which is basically nothing because it's not compressed or decompressed at all. It's completely uncompressed. Video in an AVI container. You can put other videos in an AVI container that are compressed in different ways.
Yep, I mean, the first big one, well, there's also MPEG and all that. We'll talk about that on the video day.
Yeah.
DivX was the one that really got this sort of thing big, and that was the first one, that was really the first time where people actually had to do something to play a video file.
Yeah, I mean, before DivX, the only codecs you really had in containers were, there was the AVI, which was for all Microsoft stuff was AVI, and it was completely uncompressed video. MOV, which was QuickTime, and it was all the Apple stuff.
Which barely worked, if at all, on PCs for a long time.
There was the real stuff, which was a real container, which contained compressed real video and real audio. And there was MPEG 2, which was what's on DVDs.
Well, there was also MPEG. MPEG is complicated. We'll talk about that in great detail, because there are a bunch of different layers of MPEG and different types of MPEG and different... we can't get into it today.
Yeah, we're going to do that. The third show is video, but the fourth show, I guess.
Just remember,
this is the first show.
MPEG.
Yes. So these are all the containers that there were. And then all of a sudden someone said, hey, we're going to make this new way to compress video that actually can make a really high quality video, one that would normally take up gigs, fit inside a few hundred megs without losing significant quality. That was crazy. It was crazy. Absolutely insane.
I mean, the same with music. I mean, I used to collect MIDI files, and then like I had a couple of WAV files of music, and they were huge, and my hard drive was tiny. And then the day when I found MP3s and I downloaded half of this live recording of Hotel California, and I started playing it, and it was real music, but it was like 3 megabytes.
Yep.
Now,
It's insane.
An equivalent WAV file would have been like 30 megabytes.
Yep. I guess we should now talk about the difference between lossy and lossless, because it's something a lot of people understand, but not everyone.
It also applies to all 3 of the topics.
Yes. Now, when someone says lossy and lossless compression, they mean that you can make it smaller without losing data. You see, an AVI file is not missing any data. If I take a video of RIM with a video camera, and I take the AVI file out of that camera, it is pretty much in that AVI file exactly what I saw in the eye hole. It's the best quality that the camera could record. Every single bit of information is in there. You know, if I compress it to make it smaller with, say, DivX, it will get much smaller. However, if you watched both videos side by side, you would say, hey, that DivX one doesn't look as good. It's missing some information. It still looks good.
Maybe. But then again, you might not, because even if something is lossy, it doesn't mean you can tell the difference. Because a lot of times what a lossy compression will do is remove redundant data, or data that your eye couldn't pick up anyway.
Yeah, like an MP3 is lossy. You are losing audio information when you turn a wave into an MP3. But you might not be able to detect that information with your ear, the stuff that it took out.
In fact, the math behind MP3 originally was simply that there are obviously sounds that are in music that the human ear cannot detect. Therefore, let's try to figure out a way to remove all the things that you can't hear and only leave in the things you can hear. That way it doesn't take as much data to describe the sound.
Yep. So when someone says something is lossy, that means that when you are compressing it, you're removing information. There is less information in the compressed file than there is in the non-compressed file.
Yep, the information may or may not actually matter, but if you compress things over and over or change from one lossy to another, you keep losing more data every time you do it.
Yeah, if you make something into an MP3, then an AAC, then you turn that into, I don't know what you can turn it into after that. Some other crazy audio file, then back into an MP3 again. You're losing more information each time. It's sort of like recording from one VCR to another. It just gets crappier and crappier.
Yeah, granted, it tends to level off. I mean, don't worry about this, mostly because the way the algorithms work is pretty smart, and they realize, hey, I can't take any more data out of this, but even then you'll get some artifacting and trouble, depending on exactly what you're doing.
Yeah, but if something is lossless, it is possible to make something smaller without losing any data.
Now, lossless applies mostly to non-media files, because, I mean, say I've got a program that I've written. You know, it's a bunch of instructions for the computer in like assembler.
If one of those instructions is lost, it's game over.
Yeah, if anything is changed at all, then it won't work. So I can only use lossless compression, where nothing is actually lost. It just uses algorithms to figure out how to express what it was smaller.
Like if I send an email to RIM, you know, maybe it's a big, long email. It's 100 megabytes. I need to shrink it to 500 megabytes. I know, I'm making it up. It's crazy numbers for an email.
No, check your math there.
Oh, yeah, to 50. I need to shrink it to 50 megabytes. Yeah, it's a crazy email. I need to cut it in half, right? So if I did a lossy compression, I would shrink it to 50 megabytes. RIM would get it. He'd open it up, and half the email would be missing. So that wouldn't really work out. You have to do a lossless compression, like a zip file. A zip file will shrink another file inside of a zip, and it won't lose anything. When you unzip it and uncompress it, the whole file's there just like before.
Yep.
But it takes up less space.
And there are a lot of lossless formats. I mean, FLAC is probably the most commonly known lossless audio format. It's not used that widely, but we use it on Geeknights.
Yeah, I mean, if you take a wave file, you take a CD and you rip the audio off the CD to a wave, you haven't lost anything. This perfect PCM audio, that wave is the same as the CD. Turn it into a FLAC, you're going to cut the size by quite a bit, but you're not going to lose a single sound. It'll sound just the same as CD. Turn it into an MP3, however, and it's not going to sound the same as the CD. But you might not be able to detect that with your ear.
Yeah, I mean, if you can encode MP3s, with like 320 kbps, where it has so much data of stream available that really no human can actually tell the difference at that point. And people who say they can are lying to you.
But if you encode the MP3 to say 96 kbps, you can clearly tell the difference that something is missing, and it will not sound as good as the CD.
Yeah, you want to see a really good example of it quick. Open a program like the GIMP or Photoshop and take an image and then try to save it as a JPEG. And usually you can pick the quality level you want on the JPEG. It'll show you the file size. It'll show you a preview of what the picture will look like. And as you drag it to smaller file sizes, you can see the artifacts start appearing, and the image looks worse and worse and worse.
Yes, JPEG, GIF, PNG, all of those are lossy image compression formats.
Scott, GIF is lossless.
Well, it's not. If you turn like a big bitmap into a GIF, GIF has a limited palette. So it can
but GIF as a format is lossless. If you put something in the GIF format, it is a perfect.
If you take an image that a GIF file format cannot handle.
Yeah, GIF is only lossy if you try to put something into it that couldn't fit into it already.
Yeah, it only handles like 256 colors or whatever like that.
Yeah, well, think of it this way: if you have a file that has 3,000 colors in it, and you want to compress it, one way to compress it is to reduce the number of colors. That way you need less information to describe that picture. So if you turn it into a GIF with only 255 colors...
it's not going to look the same.
But it'll be smaller.
Yes, much, much, much smaller. But if you turn it into a JPEG, you can keep all the colors you want, but you're going to lose pixels here and there. It combines pixels together and mushes them into colors, and I'll describe more how it works next Monday.
Yeah, it's all this cool stuff with mathematical equations, and you might have heard the term wavelets before.
Yeah, it gets pretty cool. That's all the stuff for the next 3 episodes.
Yeah, because then there's the frontiers of all this, which is fractal compression.
Yeah, how this compression actually happens is really freaking interesting. Like, you try to figure it out on your own. Like, go home and try to make a way to write some words, and then try to figure out a way to put the same information that is in those words, to write the same sentence with fewer letters without, losing any of the information, so that someone else can undo it and get the same thing back. Make up like a secret code that shrinks things down and works for any sentence you can come up with. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, the thing is, it's a lot easier to do that than to do it for a computer, because if another human is reading it, humans are smart and can figure things out. Computers can't actually figure things out. They have to follow a process.
You have to be able to do it so that there's no actual figuring out involved. It has to be a process where, you perform these steps in this order exactly to, take some information, shrink it, and make it big again without losing anything.
So, in the very least, for the next 3 or 4 weeks, we're going to be going into great detail about video, audio, and image codecs, decoders, coders, containers, players, etc.
Compressing, decompressing, playing, watching, listening.
If you have any specific questions about this, or are there any things you want us to cover directly, post in the forums, let us know. We'll probably be able to talk about it because we'll actually have some time to think about it.
Yeah, and just to head off, the how do I get all these videos to play? Most of you are probably using Windows. There is a thing called the Combined Community Codec Pack.
AKA the USSR.
Yes, the CCCP. And if you go to cccp-project.net, supposedly, I haven't tried it because I run Linux, this will help you play all your videos. Specifically, your anime fan subs that you downloaded legally. Or semi-legally. From Anime Ski.
And that was Geeknights with Rim and Scott. Special thanks to DJ Pretzel for our opening theme.
Be sure to visit our website at www.frontrowcrew.com. If you like our podcasts, you'll love our forums. Make sure you visit them. You can send your email feedback to geeknights@gmail.com. And if you want, you can leave us a voicemail at 206-333-1537.
Geeknights airs every weeknight, Monday through Thursday.
Geeknights is recorded with absolutely no studio and no audience. But unlike those other talk shows, it's actually recorded at night.